Hello, our dear students. Hope you are fine. Now, we are getting into the grammar of Unit 2, which is past simple and past continuous. So, do you know how to use the past continuous and past simple? Look at these examples to see how the past continuous and past simple are used. When I woke up this morning, it was snowing. When I woke up this morning, it was snowing. I was sleeping when you called me. I was sleeping when you called me. So now, let's get into each tense and know the form of each one and the usage of each one to know how we use past simple and past continuous. Past simple. The past simple shows us that an action was in the past, not in the present. The form of past simple is regular past simple verbs have ed at the end, like called, played, arrived. Irregular verbs have a different form, usually with a different vowel sound. For example, wake, woke, break, broke, feel, felt. For examples, I woke up early this morning. I woke up early this morning. Sam played basketball when he was at university. For the negative, we make the negative with didn't and the infinitive verb. I didn't wake up early this morning. I didn't wake up early this morning. If you notice, guys, we have did plus not, then the infinitive verb. We make the question form with did and then the subject and infinitive verb. As we see in the examples, did you wake up early this morning? I start my sentence by did, then the subject, then the infinitive verb, which is woke up. Did you wake up early this morning? The same for the second example. Did Sam play basketball when he was at university? Did Sam play basketball when he was at university? So, this is the form of past simple. We use past simple for something that started and functioned in the past. For example, John made some coffee a few minutes ago. The second usage, we use past simple for past routines and habits, often with the adverbs of frequency. So never ate fast food at school. Sue never ate fast food at school. The third usage of past simple, actions that happened one after the other in the past. For example, we went to the park and had a picnic. So the first action is went to the park and the second is had a picnic. We have some keywords for past simple. By keywords I mean that if I see these words in a sentence, I can deduce or I can know that the tense of the sentence will be in past simple. Keywords like yesterday, last night, last week, last month, go, at night or at morning, this night or this morning, on Saturday, on Sunday, on Friday, or on any day in general. So this is the usages and keywords of past simple. Now let's get into past continuous. The form of past continuous. We make the past continuous with was or were and the ing form of the verb. For example, she couldn't come to the party, she was working. She couldn't come to the party, she was working. 3 years ago, we were living in my hometown. 3 years ago, we were living in my hometown. I tried to give him some advice, but he wasn't listening. I tried to give him some advice, but he wasn't listening. Were you playing this time last year? Were you playing this time last year? So, if we notice, guys, we will see that the pronouns I, he, she, it, plus was plus ing, and the pronouns which are we, you, they, takes were or take were plus verb plus ing. So, the form of the past continuous is was or were according to the pronouns plus verb plus ing. Now, let's know why we use past continuous. We use past continuous for number 1, actions that were in progress at specific time in the past. Actions that were in progress. By actions that were in progress, I mean that actions were continuing at specific time in the past. Actions were continuing at specific time in the past, or actions take some time until it finish or until they finish in the past. So, the usage number 1, actions that were in progress at specific time in the past, it means that I use past continuous to express actions that take time until they finish in the past. For example, Mom was making coffee at 8 o'clock last morning, so I have time expression here, 8 o'clock. Mom was making coffee at 8 o'clock last morning. The second usage, I use past continuous for 2 or more actions that were in progress at the same time. For example, I was cooking while my mother or while my brother was watching TV. I was cooking, so it is action or it's an action. While my brother was watching TV, it's another action. So I use past continuous for 2 or more actions that were in progress, that were continuing, that were taking time at the same time in the past. The third usage, I use past continuous for giving background information in a story. Background information in a story. So I use past continuous to give background in a story, not to tell the story. I use past continuous to give background information in a story, not to tell the story itself. For example, the sun was shining and the children were playing outside. Suddenly, there was a loud bang. So here, I'm just giving background information. I'm not telling you the details of the story, or I'm not telling you the story itself. I'm just giving you background information, or information background about the story itself. For example, the sun was shining and the children were playing outside when suddenly there was a loud bang. The keywords of past simple are while, as we see in the sentences, all, like all day, all week, all month, at any time, like at 10 o'clock last morning, or at 8 o'clock last morning, or at any time. So this is the usage of past continuous and the keywords of past continuous. Now let's move to the connection between past continuous and past simple. When we use these two tenses together, it shows that the past simple action, which is ended by ed, happened in the middle of past continuous action, which is ended by ing, while it was in progress. I mean that we have two actions. One is continuous and the other is past simple. So, I have an action which is continuing, which takes time, which is continuing, which is in progress. And I have another action which happened in the middle of this continuing action, or in the middle of this progressing action. For example, while I was studying, so studying here is the continuing action, is the progressing action. I suddenly felt sleepy. So felt here is the past simple, or is the action that happened in the middle of studying. So I was studying. While I was studying, I suddenly felt sleepy. So felt here is the action that happened in the middle of the continuing action, which is studying. We often use these tenses to show an action interrupting another action, the same as the first explanation. For example, we were watching television when the power went off. We were watching television when the power went off. While I was singing, the microphone stopped. While I was singing, the microphone stopped. So, while I was singing, it's a continuing action, or it's an action which is in progress. The microphone stopped is the action that happened in the middle of singing, in the middle of the continuing action. So this is the connection between past simple and past continuous. Now let's move to the second part of grammar in Unit 2, which is the difference between used to and would. we use used to plus infinitive for actions that we did regularly in the past, but we don't do now. For example, our family used to produce olive oil when I was young. It means that our family used to produce olive oil in the past, but now they don't produce olive oil. So I use used to plus infinitive to express actions that we did in the past, but now we don't do them. The second usage, we use used to plus infinitive to express status that existed in the past but that don't exist now. Status, I mean state of verbs that express emotions or express status. For example, I used to love eating out, but now I prefer cooking at home. So this is the usage of used to plus infinitive. So what is the difference between used to and would? Okay, the difference between used to and would is just an only difference. We don't use would for past status, which means that I cannot replace would by used to in the example which said I used to love eating out but now I prefer cooking at home. I cannot say I would love eating out because we don't use would for past status. We don't use would plus stative verbs. So the difference between used to and would is just that I cannot use would plus stative verb. For example, the example in would, their mother would cook something special at the weekends. It means that their mom used to cook, which is not stative verb, something special at the weekends. It was her past routine or habit, but she doesn't do such a thing now. So this is the difference between used to and would. Then we have be used to and get used to. We use be used to plus ing or noun to talk about something that is familiar or usual. Her daughter is used to eating late at night. Her daughter is, which is verb to be, used to eating late at night. So I'm talking about something which is familiar or usual. But get used to, we use get used to plus ing or noun to talk about the process of something becoming familiar. The process of something becoming familiar. For example, I am getting used to salty food. I don't mind it. I am getting used, which means that she is or he is in the process of getting used to salty food. Note, be and get change depending on the tense that is needed in the sentence. As we see in the examples, he means that when I used to or when I have to use be used to, so I should put verb to be in the correct form according to the pronoun. The same for get. If I have to use get used to, so I have to put get in the correct form according to the pronouns or according to the tense that is needed in the sentence. Now put the correct form of the verb. It will be past simple or past continuous. So now you have to read the sentences. While you read your sentence, decide if the verb will be in past simple or past continuous. The verbs between brackets, you have to put those verbs in past simple or past continuous according to the meaning, according to the usage of past simple or past continuous. So just you can manage your watch on 10 minutes and then start answering. If you finish your answers, you can compare your answers with answers key to see if you did well or not. So goodbye.